Welcome to Bald Eagle Airfield Myakka Head. This development story starts for me way back in the FSX days, before Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, where I had started building this airstrip. Now, at the time, I did not complete it. I had only gotten a couple hangars done, and that was early on in my development career. So, I didn't know a whole lot back then. Not nearly as much as I do today, and even if I were to complete that airstrip back then, I don't think that it would come out with the level of quality that I have here in front of me today. Now, Myakka Head is a grass airstrip located in southern Florida. This airstrip has become popular in the last several months after a YouTuber, which some of you probably know about, Cleetus McFarland, purchased this airstrip. Now, as I said, I worked on this airstrip many years before this even came up. So, seeing that Cleetus McFarland video pop up on my YouTube feed one day lit a spark within me again to actually circle back to this airstrip and complete it. And that's where I'm at right here today. As of the posting this video, the first beta version of this airstrip has been pushed out to my test team, and I'm really looking forward to releasing this airstrip in the upcoming weeks, most likely sometime next month. Now, in my last video, for those of you who might have watched it, if you haven't, I would highly recommend going and at least taking a peek at it to see where this airstrip started and what it's come to now. You'll notice that there is a tremendous difference between that version and the version in front of you here today. The version in that video was just a couple weeks into development. The only things that were really done were the two basic renditions of the hangars with interiors modeled out, and then some filler objects, mostly default stuff, as well as my older versions of my palmetto vegetation and stuff like that. It wasn't really a whole lot to marvel at that point. I just wanted to get a video out that said that I was working on the project. And at the time also, there was another version that had come out about a week or so after I had started development. It is through Orbix, and it's on Marketplace now. This I want to make absolutely clear because I have had some confusion on it already, and hopefully this won't be an issue going into release, but I have had some people come up to me and say, is this airstrip the Backwoods Studios version? No. This is a completely separate project. I'm in no way, shape, or form affiliated with Backwoods Studios. That is a completely different indie developer over at Orbix who has released the same airstrip. They just beat me to release on time. But because I didn't have to worry about time at this point and I wasn't feeling rushed to get this airstrip out, it was very easy for me to take time to actually put in a lot of detail and love into this scenery. Now, some differences from the first video you'll notice almost immediately is we actually have some 3D trees in here now. I think in that video I might have had some basic models just thrown out here in this pasture. But now I've actually gone back and I've got several authentic oak trees which are native to this area, and I've filled out some of these little spots here with 3D trees just to kind of blend things together. As we're zooming by here as well, the fence has been completely redone, 100% custom barbed wire fence now. Before it was just the default basic game barbed wire fence, which has probably been seen in so many freeware sceneries and probably paywares up to this point. but I wanted something a little bit different, so I created my own texture, my own model and textures, and went ahead and placed it all the way around the airstrip. You'll find it all throughout the scenery, as well as another fence variation. So basically everything at this point is 100% custom. I do not believe that I am using any default models at all in this scenery. And of course, I can't remember if these were in last time or not, but we had to put the runway markers in. And I say we, I mean I had to put the runway markers in. As I like to call them, they look a lot like those old blow pops that you could get, so I just like to call them, petroleum lollipops, because styrofoam, right? But it's a nice little touch to the scenery for sure. Um, though one thing I have found is they are not nearly as visible as what you can see like in real life. And I think a lot of that has to do with just how tall the grass is by default in this sim. Even with the shorter grass here, and this is as short as the grass in the sim can go without turning the dirt, it still adds quite a bit of elevation to the runway, so it's pretty easy, like, if you get down on the grass, right, it's pretty easy to hide some of that and make them blend in a little bit. But they are there. We got sand patches underneath them, or I got sand patches underneath them, so at least they'll stick out to you a little bit. One cool thing about this runway that I really like, and by the way, this is a beautiful runway for any sort of like Sunday or weekend flying, but you have an offset to the runway where it's offset to the side, so you actually have a little bit of space on this, the west side of the runway that you can taxi. So this is a really good spot for fly-ins or something like that, where you're going to have a decent bit of aircraft here. You can really stay out of each other's way. And moving on to the approach area here, we'll take a peek at the front gate. I've got quite a bit of vegetation placed around here now. There are some elevation issues here currently. I need to go back through and fix a lot of this. As I said, this is just entering into beta, and it's still a bit of a work in progress beta at this point. Not everything is 100% finished, not 100% of the features are in at this point in time. But we can at least take a look at the front gate here. Now, if any of you have seen the video, I took a lot of pride in creating this sign. This is all painted here. This entire fence gate area is done in Substance Painter. It's a 4K texture, one of the few 4K textures in the scenery, optimized, of course, for memory. So, and basically what that means is it's not just 4K all the way across the board. I've actually taken some liberties to downscale, like the comp texture and stuff. Technical details, but it's along with LODs, shouldn't be an issue on limited platforms that might struggle with like memory issues and stuff. And I can get a little bit more into the optimization of this airstrip later, but for now, let's stick on with the visual side of things. So we got the sign here all done in 3D, even got a little 3D prop on there. I did redo the sign completely in vector graphic, so it's not just an image slapped on there, it's actually recreated, along with little rivet details and stuff on there as well. Also tried the match as far as the grunge on it, kind of the photo, to make it a little photorealistic, and added some height to it as well to make it really pop out. So this, by far, is probably my favorite object in this scenery, this gate area here. And as you come into the actual gate section here, we also got small little details in here, which I really like focusing on, the small details in add-ons. Got a little gate keypad here, and I'll get as close to it as I can within the limitations of my controller here. where you can actually see that everything's done pretty high res on this section. You can actually see the numbers and stuff. So just the little details. Got a solar panel over here off to the side. And then I did put a little Easter egg in here. Now, this is a completely useless feature for a scenery, for an airport. You are never going to use this for an aircraft, but if for whatever reason you want to take a ground vehicle out, or who knows, in 2024, maybe we'll have some more use for this. We'll have to see moving forward. But this gate is actually triggerable. So if you pull up to the keypad on either side of it, that one there or this one over here, the gate will open up. So you can drive through it. And that's true for all metal gates like this that I have included in this scenery. And I'll show you the other two here in a moment. And also, maybe here in a bit, we'll actually taxi the plane up to this gate and we'll show it in action opening up. But let's move on down the trail here. As with all my sceneries, I really focused on the environmental side of stuff. And so I've added a lot of like ground level vegetation and stuff in. So if you do take a ground vehicle through here, you're going to have at least some stuff to look at. I forgot to mention it while we're at that end, but there are 3D and collidable power lines throughout this scenery. So there's some tucked back in the trees here, and all realistically placed. Of course, these power lines are actually here in real life. But they're also on the approach ends of all the runways with the appropriately sized marker high visibility balls as well. So as we move out or move down this airstrip, I'll show you some more of those. And here in a bit, we'll take a little flight around as well. And I'll show you another cool addition to this scenery. So this is the larger hangar on the airfield, the backside of it, that is. Now, I believe at the time I had maybe had a basic cement platform, at the time of the previous video that is. I had like a basic cement platform back here. I might have had this overhang in. Not sure if I had some of the other features like the second door over here and this overhang. Pretty sure the cement went all the way across, which was an error on my part. It is now cut and shaped correctly. So yeah, we got the overhang back here. Touching on the optimization side of things for a little bit, I believe I also mentioned in my last video that this airstrip was going to be in a bit of an experiment, and that this is the first time I've tried using the tiling texture technique for any of my airstrips. And the main purpose was I wanted to do some tiling textures in this scenery just to see what the benefits and what the cons of the entire thing was. And I'm really curious. Obviously, I haven't been able to test this yet, how it's going to perform on Xbox. I think it's going to do good. Using the tiling textures, I have more calls that the CPU has to make, but the trade-off is that I'm using a lot less texture memory on buildings that are a lot bigger. So for smaller objects like this bulldozer over here, like the planes, these can all be painted on texture sheets and probably do a lot better painted on texture sheets. But for larger buildings like this, I wanted to give the tiling technique a try. One, to see how it turned out visually. Two, to see how it performed. The benefits that I find obviously are that you can keep things super high resolution even up close, which will look really good on Xbox where the textures get highly downsampled. Get cut by at least 50% on Xbox, I believe on the Series X, and then even further sometimes on the Series S. The downsides are that like I said, a lot of calls, or a lot more calls than just painting on one texture sheet. You don't have as much control over grunge and stuff like that. So, and then obviously, it's really hard to get rid of the tiling look. I've tried to break it up as best as I can, but it's not perfect. You also don't get like interior AO baking and stuff like that. So you have to rely on the sim shaders to really help with the AO and stuff inside. Now, popping inside the hangar here, you will notice that there's a lot more clutter in here now. I've actually taken time to place clutter inside of the hangar. So boxes, shelves, got an engine hoist over here, oil drip pan, some more stuff over here. I don't remember if even like these little inner buildings were here last time I showed off this airstrip or not. Even got lighting in here now, which we'll show off some of that here in a bit. And then, of course, probably my favorite feature inside of this hangar is the clock. This clock is 100% functional, so I can actually go here and I'll set the time, we'll set the time forward here so it's actually evening time. And here, let me do this so you can actually see. You can see that the hands actually move on the clock depending on what time of day it is. You also get a nice little wise ticking sound there. So yeah, definitely my favorite piece inside of this hangar. And as I had mentioned before, we got the lighting here as well. Now, this is a nice segue into some of the dynamic features of the scenery, which are also common in the add-ons I do. This lighting, much like a couple of my other, or actually I think Fort Crosby is the only airstrip that does it right now, but just like Fort Crosby, this lighting is controlled dynamically. So just like default lighting in the sim, dusk, dawn, night, it's illuminated. But also, let's say it's daytime and it starts raining. Well, those lights are going to come on as well. So it's just a little quality of life thing I decided to add in because I could, right? Like if it's dark out, raining and dark out, you probably want some lights on or else it's pretty gloomy around the airstrip, right? So for this hangar here, as well as, and I'll go ahead and we'll just leave the lights on and we'll venture over to the other hangar, as well as the triple hangar over on the other side here also has the same dynamic lights. So it looks like our hangar closed on us, but if we go inside of the hangar here, we can see that the light is on as well. And this light in the right hand side bay is the same functionality as the large hangar: dawn, dusk, night, or while raining. Now, something completely different as far as the other hangar bays on this. The lighting is also dynamic and it matches the functionality of the hangar doors themselves. So these hangar doors, the left and center bay, are not user controllable. They are dynamically controlled based on factors such as day of the week, time of day, as well as weather. So we can see right now the center bay is open on this hangar. But if I go up to the weather tab here, and let's say it's the 17th now, let's make it the 18th. What happens? Oh, now the center bay is closed. Let's go to the 19th. Open again. What happens on the 20th? Oh, now the left bay is open. And we can do this all week. And we're going to have different doors open on different days. And you will also see that it's evening time, right? About to be night. The lights are on currently in the center bay. Well, the left bay is closed, right? What's the chances that he left the light on inside? Oh, look at that. He actually remembered to turn it off. So, why would you leave a light on when you're not at the hangar? So we turn them off. And that's the same with both this left and center hangar. As I said, the lights actually follow the functionality of the hangar doors. So let's say it starts raining. Well, if it's raining all day, you're probably going to pack it in. You're not going to do much flying, so the hangars are going to be closed. And also the light is now off. If I take the weather back off, light turns back on, hangars open. And for these hangars, the lights and hangar doors are only open from from dawn to dusk. So at night, there's no lighting. There's no night lighting at this airstrip. It's not really a night approved airstrip at this moment in time. So you're not going to be doing a lot of flying out of here at night. Of course, on your side, you can do whatever the heck you want. But everybody else at the airstrip, when it gets nighttime, they pack up and they leave for the day. So let's jump ahead here a little bit later. 8:20, it's pitch black out. But we can see that the hangar is now closed and the lights have been turned off, as we can see by the little bit of cast through here. That's actually kind of a cool shot. Nice and dark. And we can pop inside here and we'll see that the hangar lights are off as well. And there is a little bit of a gap at the top of these walls, so it lets a little bit of light cast through, which is kind of nice. Obviously, your bay is going to be lit 24/7 if you want to fly out of here pitch black. Yeah, I mean, more power to you, I guess. Good luck. Don't hit any trees or power lines on the way out, but the light will be on for you. Anyways, let's move on. As we've covered about all that there is to cover here at the hangar, we'll move on down to the end of the runway. And I think to demonstrate this, from this point on out, let's go ahead and we'll hop into the Piper Cub over here, because this isn't just one airstrip. This scenery includes two different airstrips. And you may ask, where is this second airstrip? Let me show you where the second airstrip is. So it's a nice day here in Florida. Let's go ahead. We'll kick the doors open. Or kick the door open. And let's see. I don't know if my chocks are on or not. They are now. Let's see if we still have some prime left on this thing. Almost. Oh, you know what? Mags are on already. Okay. Well, minus 1 point for not turning off the mags. There we go. And I'll go ahead and let it taxi here as we warm up. And we're going to taxi down to the southern end of the runway. Well, off to a rocky start. What did we miss? The fuel cutoff was on. Let's see. Made it start back up, yeah. For whatever reason, I have not had to prime this plane once since I've installed it. Usually you would think you'd have to prime it, but it actually floods it if you try to prime it, so just turning on the fuel and throwing the prop seems to be enough. Not sure if that's a bug or what it is, but we're just going to taxi on down the right-hand side of the runway here. Right hand for me, at least. Getting a little fast. The tail is coming up. And you'll notice on the sides here, there is some vegetation floating right now. And that is also because since my last development update video, I have added a 1 meter digital elevation model to the scenery, as well as done some hand terraforming around it. So each side of the runway now has the appropriate slope down to a little bit of a ditch, which is causing a lot of this vegetation to float, because I have not gone through and adjusted everything yet. That's still on the to-do list. But that's the same all around the coverage area. You're actually going to have nice little ditches now. There's some retention ponds and stuff that we'll see once we get over to the other airstrip. And I should probably get a little higher up towards the runway here before we run down into the ditch. Alright, coming around the end of the runway here. Now, if you're familiar at all with this airstrip, there is a retention pond here at the end of the runway, and let's hold the tail down here as we brake. Screwed that up. Get the nose around just a little bit here. We have a little friend that waits on us over here, and we can see him right here. Now, if anybody's familiar with Florida, you'll know that there's two things that come from Florida: Florida men and alligators. And while there are no Florida men currently visible in this scenery, there is an alligator. And yeah, he's right there, just sitting there in the sun. But what happens when we get close to the alligator? Well, let's find out. I wonder if he likes Piper cubs. And we'll go ahead and I'll try to spin the nose around just a little bit here. We'll creep up on him. Oh, maybe he's not liking it so much, huh? Yeah, he's being a little defensive. Well, yeah, maybe we should back off and leave him be. But anyways, this is just a fun little thing I decided to do one day. I said I needed something that symbolizes Florida a little bit more in the scenery, and what better to do that than an alligator? So we got a little animated alligator over here. He's got a distance trigger on him, so if you get a little too close to him, he gets a little defensive, and he'll start grinning at you a little bit here. But just another fun dynamic feature. And with that, we are at the end of the runway here, so let's go ahead and we'll get lined up on the runway. And I got a little remove before flight tag that I did not take off of the tube there, so let's go ahead and take that off real quick. Boop. Done. Now we'll have airspeed. And it's a nice warm day out here in Florida today, well above the 90-degree threshold, so we're going to go ahead and leave the door open to get a little AC. Got the bush wheels on, not that we really need it, but they got the added benefit of being bush wheels. So let's go ahead and line up here. We'll give her some throttle, we'll get the tail up, push the stick forward. We'll keep her nice and low here as we lift off. Keep her in ground effect to build up some airspeed before we climb out. And as I had mentioned before, we got power lines on each approach end of the runway with markers, so you can kind of see them down there. They are collidable, so if you get too low, you can collide with them. Same goes with the trees as well, the oak trees and other trees throughout this area, the palm trees. They are all collidable, so if you get a little too low on approach and you end up snagging one of those trees, you're probably going to end up on your back. And just a note about the power lines, your chances of hitting them are actually fairly low. The poles are all built custom, by the way, to actual standard pole size here in the US, and it just so happens that the trees are actually a little bit taller than the power lines. So if you hit the power lines, even if you didn't hit them and somehow managed to just avoid them, you're probably going to have bigger problems in about another second when you smack into the trees. So the chances of hitting the power lines are very low. You're probably going to hit the trees first. So we're just flying a kind of loose pattern here, probably a little farther out from the runway than we should, just past the lake. And we got the road here. power lines down this road here as well if we look. And we got the retention pond there at the end of the runway. And we're just going to make a really short hop over to the second airstrip. Now, it shouldn't take us any more than about 30 minutes to get there. And by 30 minutes, I mean about the time it's going to take me to hit the runway at idle power. Because we're going like, well, we're going 50 mile an hour. It's not so bad. And also I'm going to idle power right now because I'm too high on the approach for the secondary airstrip. So let's throw in a little bit of a slip here. We'll lose some altitude. We may not nail the landing on the first try here, but we're going to slip on down. And we got the end of the runway here coming into sight. Pass through the power lines and the gate. Oh, we may make it. We're a little fast. Yeah, we got this. Try not to brake too hard here. Alright. And just like that, after a short 30-minute flight, we are here at the second airstrip. And we got some nice shady oak trees over here. We'll park by them. And we'll throw the chocks out. And I'm going to go ahead and just cut the mags. We'll go ahead and turn the fuel off as well. And we can hop out here. Alright. So what do you think? This is the secondary airfield. And it is just a very, very, very short hop over the trees from the Myakka airstrip over here. I'm very surprised. I was even quite surprised when I looked on Google Maps and Bing Maps as well. And I said to myself, huh, this looks a lot like an airstrip. And the more I started investigating, I figured out, oh, yeah, it actually is. It's an unlisted airstrip. This is not in the FAA database. It's, as far as I know, not on any charts. It's just a private runway here. And being so close to the Myakka Head airfield, I couldn't pass up adding this one in. So this one's got just a single large hangar. This is, I mean, it's a detailed rendition. It's a little bit lighter of a rendition compared to Myakka in a sense that it doesn't have like an operational hangar and stuff. It's just a hangar model. The door doesn't open. You can't go inside of it. I didn't want to shove like a bunch of clutter and stuff in there and bog down performance for, you know, no reason. The hangar, you will notice, looks very familiar. And that's because it is. It's literally a variation of the bigger hangar at Myakka Head. And that is true to life. My best guess is that both of the hangars were built probably around the same time by the same contractor. Really, the only difference with this hangar here is that the door placement on the back is a little bit different. And really also the only difference there is it's just that roller door on the right hand side. Instead of being on the left hand side, this hangar's on the right hand side. It also doesn't have the second standard door on the back either. So really that's the only difference. Other than that, from what I could best tell, the airstrip, or sorry, the hangar, is the design, the color scheme, all appears to be exactly the same. So, yeah, that was easy. Just made a few modifications, spliced some stuff together, twisted some wires, and now we're here. This airstrip is detailed as well. I put a lot of care into this airstrip. We also got several 3D trees around it, as well as, you know, vegetation, palmettos, which I didn't really touch on over at the other airstrip. If anybody watched the original video I did on Myakka Head, these palmettos are brand new from that video. These are actually 3D. The ones I had originally were my old model, which was just like a cross-plane, very low poly vegetation. And I wanted to spice things up a bit and actually up the quality. So I went back, I redid all that. It's brand new 3D. Even my like filler models, which I'll have to find some in a minute, are they're cross-plane, but they're also a lot 3D, a lot nicer 3D than what the old ones were. Got ourselves a little mobile home over here, tucked in the corner. This is here in real life as well. Nice and grunged up. She's been here a while. She hasn't really been cleaned, taken care of. It's got some nice night lighting, and we'll touch on the night lighting environment of the scenery here in just a minute. Got some nice little collidable oak trees here on the approach end. So you can shoot the gap down through the trees here, which makes a nice little approach, or you know, get a little too far over to the left and maybe take a tumble. The choice is yours. You'll also notice that the barbed wire fence is very present in this scenery. Its whole area here is bordered by different fences, as we can see if we're looking out in the distance here. The main properties here at the airstrip have been done in 3D with custom objects, some new models. The houses have been done in tiling textures as well, so we can actually get up pretty close to them here and see the actual plaster texture is very high resolution. Like I said, just as a test. We got some palm trees out here as well. Got a pump shack and some vertical planters. I don't remember the exact term for these tower gardens, which this is a pretty high detail model, but with the power of LODs, I can make them very performant as well as instancing the models. But they're there in real life, so I couldn't help but add them in as a little fun detail. And also, this house here is based on real estate photos that I found publicly online, so it is very realistic in design. Well, you know, to an extent. I will never claim that anything I make is 100% realistic, because I'm not perfect. And I don't strive to be either. You know, I like to take fun little liberties when I can, especially if I can do something a little bit better, a little bit more performant. I don't go down to every nut and bolt on every little thing. But if you do get close enough, it is screened in. We have a screen here. Unfortunately, because of texture culling and MIP maps and textures, the screen isn't visible from that far away. But, you know, it's a little 64 pixel texture that adds a fun element to it. So if you go inside and explore the porch here, you'll see that you can actually clip through the screen. And that takes us over to the other house on the property. Note we got some power lines going down the center here. Quick stop here at this drainage ditch. This is the nice little 1 meter mesh playing. I have not done any hand terraforming here. This is 100% the mesh that I have imported. So, nice little drainage ditch. You'll find all kinds of little things like that in the coverage area. There's some more little drainage or holding ponds over there. And this house here, I didn't have as many details to go off of on this one. Basically, whatever I could see in aerials is what I could get. Luckily, there is a little bit of, on being bird's eye view coverage of this, which means I can get an angled view, not just a straight top-down satellite view, but a view coming in at an angle. So I could actually view a little bit of this house to at least get like rough window sizes and placement, door placement and stuff. It's got a pool on the back as well. And we'll go in there and take a closer look here in a second as I hit the tree collision there. Pop the camera up. Thanks, Adobe. Now this is a nice little screened-in porch, pretty common here in Florida. The pool actually does have a texture on it. It is a parallax texture. So if we get a little bit down here on the pool and we move backwards, we can actually see, if we watch the the white drains or whatever they are in the center of the pool, that they'll actually get a little bit closer to this edge of the pool, and they can kind of move around and such. Gives just a little bit of motion to the pool. I don't know if anybody has used this method for a pool yet. This is a method I came up with quite a while back, probably 2 years back now, working on Limberlost Ranch, which I still haven't released. Eventually, that one will come out whenever I get back into it. And also, I'm kind of waiting for 2024 to come out to see how some stuff goes over with that. But I came up with this method for the Limberlost Ranch scenery, and it's been there, present in that scenery for quite a while. But because I haven't used that officially yet, I decided that I would put it into play for this scenery and just stick it in here. So yeah, there we have it. Parallax on the pool. Gives it at least a little bit of motion. It's not perfect, but it's nice. And then of course, we got a little bit of a porch area here that opens up to the pool. Now, this area also has a little bit of night lighting to it, so if we flip over to nighttime once again, we'll just make it a little after dark here, so we still got a little bit of light to work with, maybe a little bit darker. Something like that. You'll actually see that the pool does have lighting itself on one end, just like as if you'd have a pool light in here. The porch also has a little bit of lighting. The windows are also emissive. So I've tried to set it up, and maybe I need to tweak this one, because it actually would make sense that I think to have this window be bright as well. But I've tried to set up the rooms that are actually like active to kind of make sense, like which windows are lit up and which ones aren't. So, because like what I would assume would be like the family room area here, probably this window is open on the family room side, right? Or maybe it could be a bedroom off to the side as well. But either way, I tried to just do the emissive lighting in ways that actually made sense. So you'll notice like the garage area here, right? All the windows on the garage are dark. Not very often that you're in your garage at night. You may be, but they're not. They're not in their garage. But, the front room light's on, so somebody's home. Yeah, so just little details like that. I've just tried to make, what would you call that? Yeah, I don't have the word for it, but just try to make things make sense. And same goes with this building over here as well. We'll see that, we got this room lighter is on, then on the back side here, like the family room and kitchen area lights are all on. But, this bedroom side over here isn't. Bedroom's off. This room here is on. And then the front area is on. I've also come up with a detail texture for this, which makes this garage, I think, look really, really nice, or have a really nice paneling texture to it. Nice and high quality. Door here as well. I actually may start using this detail, or this decal texture, on any models I do, like in paint as well, if I can't get like super good textile density out of it, enough for door paneling. Just because it's just such a nice texture. And as I have mentioned many times in this now, the tiling thing is a huge experiment in this, and basically what I have got out of the tiling is that it probably is not worth doing moving forward, except for on maybe like really large buildings. Like, these are pretty large, where it actually kind of benefits it. But just overall, all around, using like detail texture overlays and stuff on them, I've ran into a lot of compiler errors and issues that I've had to try to work my way through. So it's a huge freaking headache. So I think just the level of quality that I can get out of standard textured buildings, I'm going to keep going down that route and just make sure I'm doing, all the optimization necessary, as I always do, as I always try to do, to allow it to run good on platforms like Xbox. And these little sheds here are good examples of stuff that I have actually painted in my traditional painting workflow. This is done in Substance Painter, just a little 1K texture on this building. But as you can see, it's got really good texel density. It's really nice quality. This little metal building here is a 2K texture. Nice and grunged up. And it's all the same for all the sheds and the portable trailer and stuff I showed you earlier. So, yeah, this scenery is a little bit of a mix. It's got some stuff textured traditionally, some stuff done in tiling. This little shed here is done in tiling as well. Or, sorry, in texture sheet. But yeah, as far as dynamic features go, which is something I'm really big on in my other sceneries, dynamic features right now in the scenery are a little limited. As I showed you, we have the lights and the hangar doors and stuff. We got the alligator, but really the only other thing that we have in the scenery, that I have in the scenery right now that could be considered dynamic, is I got a nice little flag here, which is actually there in real life from what I could tell in aerial photos. Nice little American flag at the gate, which, as I mentioned, does open. And we should actually probably demonstrate that. And we'll go ahead and we'll just go on back this direction. We'll take a look at this approach end. I know this video is getting a little bit long, but I'm trying to fit a lot in here. And we can actually take a closer look at the power lines. So we see we got the little marker balls on here. The power lines are done in tiling. They have collision, so I can actually sit on top of the power line here. You see it's nice and high res if you actually get up to it. And then same goes for the pole as well. And these are mostly done in tiling because I can share textures, like if I do other poles and stuff like this. So that's kind of a nice optimization bullet point there. And then we got some more fences out here as well. This is all done with the vector placement tool, which is, what you're supposed to use for fences. So it's just one segment basically repeating all the way down, which means it's nice and performant. And I can cover a large area pretty easily with it. Same goes for this wooden fence here, just a single section, which makes it really easy to do these gates. I don't have to do them all in 3D, which would mean a lot of polys, a lot of optimization to make it performant. Whereas right now we're only technically rendering one fence piece, just repeating. And then of course, a little bit of custom paint on the roads, just to kind of spruce things up. And then plenty of vegetation. So yeah. As I said in the beginning of this video, for those of you who have stuck around to this point, I highly appreciate it. I know this has been a long video. I've done a lot of talking up to this point, but there's so much to talk about because this project has come such a long ways from the original. And for any of you that decide to pick this scenery up, it is going to be very, very competitively priced. I'm looking at, I believe $6.99 is what I'm going to try to go for. So 2 airstrips, lots of details for $6.99. It's going to be available from my website once it is released. And it'll also be available on Marketplace for PC and Xbox. Now, I'm hoping for simultaneous release on both, so my website and Marketplace on the same day. obviously, sometimes I don't know exactly when stuff's going to drop on Marketplace, so I have to do a little bit of guesswork there. But yeah, we'll see if we can hit the nail on the head. Maybe maybe Microsoft will work with me and actually let me know like a day ahead of time would be nice. But we'll have to just see what they say. But before we end the video here, oh, don't die on me. Let's go ahead and we'll fire the Cub back up here. Take the chocks off, and we'll taxi on down to the runway, and we'll show you the gate in action. Just because that's really the last thing I haven't touched on in the scenery. And since we're in a Cub, we'll go ahead and... Oh. Well. It was a nice run. We made it this far without damaging the Cub. You guys didn't see that. That never happened. Alright, now that I'm done demonstrating donuts, let's continue going down this end of the runway. But, I don't know what that was about. I had the tail. I think I just let her get a little too far forward. There we go. This is how I intended the taxi. Taxi with a little bit of visibility, have the tail up there. Go ahead and pull off the power. Yeah, let's get the tail back on the ground, get her slowed down before we run out of runway here. And I'm gonna go ahead and we'll swap out the outside view here just so we can see what's going on. And we'll see as I approach the gate here, it'll start to swing open. There we go. So any SIM object will trigger this gate to open. So you can bring an airplane through here, you can bring a vehicle through, you can land a helicopter by it. Same goes with, you know, hangar door or the gate or all that stuff. So the gate is open. It would, you know, be inappropriate to not taxi through it. So let's go ahead and see how let's see how passing underneath the power lines treats us. Let's see if it throws us up in the air. No. That was all me. That was me. I touched the brake too hard. But it's quite tempting. I think we're just gonna have to give her full power here and actually use this road as a runway. Oh, but the poles are collidable. Alright, maybe we shouldn't use the road as a runway. We'll just cut the engine here. Yeah, before anybody gets hurt. Anyways, guys, thanks for coming along and checking out this newest rendition of Bald Eagle Airfield Myakka Head. Got to get used to saying that because it's no longer just Myakka Head. It has been renamed to Bald Eagle Airfield Myakka Head. This will be the last video before the release trailer. So hopefully you enjoyed this hour-long little video. And yeah, my throat is sore. I think I am done talking. Anyways, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you soon. RotorNut44, over and out.